Alright, I am here. I am going to burn one extra humanity, because fuck it, I have tons. This will in fact be our final bonfire for the area, so no reason not to kindle it. Worth noting, I could kindle these bonfires up to 20, but as I've kind of shown, I don't really need it, especially now that I'm kitted out so much. And since we're here, I think I will put the rest of it into just a little more power. Never hurt nobody. Alright, so we moved this area out of the way and appear to have made our way into something of a secret room. And around here, it's obviously a lot more messy. This was, not as well kept as even the areas just outside. And there's even some treasure chests kind of spewed around here. Things like blue titanite chunks and strange urns. Over here we find another sort of private study, although this one is quite impressive. One thing I really, really like is that if you look up in this area, the bookshelves have either been disturbed or were just placed incredibly haphazard from the start. Like, this was very clearly built very quickly and, never put into any sort of order. And you do, in fact, find the channeler's equipment in here. Now, this is a find. Armor. So, let's learn about these channelers that we've been seeing for a while. Waistcloth of the Channelers, sorcerers that serve Seath the Scaleless. Even after the onset of Seath's madness, the Snatchers, as they were often called, ventured to far lands to find suitable human specimens. The heaviest protective gear for sorcerers, and imbued with magic. So this sort of corroborates the thing that I had mentioned before about these kidnappings and snatchers for Seath's experiments. The last thing that we might have to say is the Helm of the Channelers, sorcerers that serve Seath the Scaleless. The 6 eyes, arranged in 2 vertical slits, columns, compensate for Seath's lack of sight. The heaviest protective gear for sorcerers, and imbued with magic. So we get that. We now learn that, of course, these channelers are servants of Seath the Scaleless, and that they go out basically looking for maidens and other folk to kidnap for Seath's experiments. Now that it seems like Gwynevere doesn't have too many. Gwynevere doesn't seem to have too many more left to or too many more maidens left. I'm bad at words. Still some chests thrown around here. We get the giant cell key. What do you know about that? It's interesting that it would be hidden all this way out, I would say. Giant cell key. Oops. The giant cell once imprisoned countless maidens, but is now empty, save for a few key persons. They struggle to uphold their sanity, as hordes of mistakes writhe at fearfully close proximity. God, the word mistakes is just the in this. Like, it very clearly shows that there is some shit going on here. And over here, you might go and open that chest, but it turns out... Oh god. Always watch the fuck out for that. Wow, I am shocked. There we go. Mimics. Symbol of avarice. I believe that might mean I've killed every mimic in the game. Or I got really lucky. One of the two. And an enchanted falcon. Interesting that that would be what was protected here. I think it does sort of imply that there was someone else helping Seath with these things, because this was very clearly the room of someone who wanted to protect these sorts of things, so like the Tower Archive cell. But the fact that there is an enchanted falcon, which I believe is just, yeah, a regular falcon with the enchanted status on it. We already have several of these. I think skeletons drop them. But perhaps more interestingly, monster head resembling a treasure chest. Once an ancient god, it is said this is the symbol of shame imposed on a long-lost clan, exiled for the sin of avarice. Wearing this slightly raises soul absorption and item discovery, but also affects its wearer with the curse of the branded. It's a mimic hat. It does damage to you, as you can see, so I'm actually not going to keep that on. But yeah, that's probably one of the more well-known joke items in this area. And then we also see this, you know, very, very not suspicious stairway. I mean, flat floor. I mean, stairway. Down into the basement. But before we do this, let's actually go pay Logan a visit. Might as well, right? God, I hate that fucking guy. Alright, let's see if we can't free Logan here. I believe these dudes are still, yeah, set to run right the fuck past me, but, eh. I mean, honestly, I'm probably homeward boning after this, so no real reason to kill them. Other than, you know, Sneeple or fuckers. Suffer not a Sneeple to live. We will, unfortunately, probably have to cut our way through some former maidens to get back to Logan again. Obviously, they are very easy to take at range because they have very low defense and health, and they do not aggro you. So, if you do have that option, I would certainly recommend doing it that way. You gotta think it's a bit fucked up of the main character to be going through and killing here. Though, like, killing these things who are clearly only protecting their own kind here. I mean, they're just gathered in a group here, but they're just, you know, they're not trying to hurt anybody unless the music goes off, which is clearly very painful to them. But there are a lot of interpretations of Dark Souls that kind of see the main character as a bit of a fucker, and given like that you really do storm in on oh god, that was almost really bad. So like a lot of these areas really aren't doing anything to bother you as you come along here. It's kind of difficult to interpret this quest as anything but a bit, you know, selfish or at least mindless. You know, you've been told by Framps that this is to rekindle the Age of Fire and all that sounds really heroic, but you are really meant to see what the protagonist is doing here as a bit intrusive if you look, you know, below the surface here. Not even a bit. You are literally a bit of a you are literally a genocidal maniac in a lot of cases here. And you can argue that because the world is ruined it doesn't really matter, but then I guess that's the kind of question that you would ask about Dark Souls in the first place. What this quest that your main character is on really means.
Alas, I'm imprisoned.
Yeah, still same thing. Luckily...
Oh, thank you very much. I'm saved. That
So
makes
nonchalant.
twice. I must be sure to repay you. I will visit the archives. If I discover any new spells, I shall share them with you. Prepare to be impressed by the onward march of sorcery.
And so we really do see, like, what Logan's driving force is here. Obviously, he's told us he's in search of knowledge, but he's still so nonchalant about being rescued like this that it very much seems like he can barely take care of himself. And he's nice, and that is an important thing that you should keep in mind. He is a nice person, but he's very much unconcerned about basically everything but this forward pursuit of knowledge.
Hello. Don't mind me. Go on ahead. I'll head out soon. I wish to lay down my plans before I visit the archives.
So as usual, he makes his own way back. He's clearly a very powerful sorcerer. And we also find a Firekeeper soul in this giant cage. So it seems that the minions who kidnapped people weren't only looking for ordinary maidens, and that these channelers may also have been looking for special types as well. And well, I guess that's our gain. In Dark Souls, you do use everything to your advantage, even if it's a little bit gruesome. I do like the way that the quest slowly seems to... I don't know if degenerate is the right word for it, but it certainly, like, loses this luster as you go along and, like, kill all of these things that really... you were the one intruding upon them? I mean... Quelaag obviously was just protecting her territory and her, her poor sick sister. These maidens that you've just killed here, they have obviously had an awful run of things. Like, it becomes more and more clear, it becomes harder and harder to justify all of these awful things you did in the name of, your quest, your higher quest here as you go along. And it is worth keeping that in mind as we go here and kill all of these literal gods of the world. But look who we found again.
Hello there. I was expecting you. This place is truly magnificent, more than expected even. As promised, I shall share the new sorceries with you, and the secret of Sith's immortality.
Yes, so in another decision that I think is fairly questionable, the only way to actually learn why Sith is completely immortal at the top of his tower is to get the archive tower key, go all the way back, free Logan, and then come here to talk to him. I like that you have to, like, talk to NPCs to get information like this, but I think the way that they made it so circuitous and, like, if you're not playing a magic user, you don't really have much reason to suspect that freeing Logan will help you. It makes it just a little too obscure for what is essentially a really annoying gimmick fight. But, oh well, let's talk.
The secret of Sith's immortality. If you have fought him and were imprisoned, you must know that Sith is a true undead, different from ourselves. His wounds close promptly, and no mortal blow affects him, granting true insulation from death. His wounds close promptly, and no mortal blow affects him, granting true insulation from death. It is an effect of the primordial crystal, a sacred treasure pillaged by Sith when he turned upon the ancient dragons. So only by destroying the primordial crystal can you so much as scratch his hide. And it so happens, the primordial crystal is in the inner garden of these very archives, the crystal fire.
And so we get a few things out of this conversation here. We see that Cease Immortality is based on a crystal that he stole from the dragons after he betrayed them. We see that giant crystal structure that we see when we come out of the library is basically where that crystal is housed, and that's our next destination. We see that it's like very much, we're presented with this fact that the only way that we can go forward here is to completely destroy a priceless artifact of the immortal dragons. Like, think about that. The game is going to force you to do this, and you the player, the main player character, has to do this to go forward, but you are destroying this priceless artifact. Just one more tick against this quest.
The tomes stored in these archives are truly magnificent. A great pool of knowledge. The fruits of superior wisdom and an unquenchable desire for the truth. Some would say Seath had an unsound fixation. But his work is a beautiful, invaluable resource. All progress demands sacrifice, and I certainly bear no antipathy for that wonderful, scaleless beast.
And so, here we start to see a bit of the darker side of Logan's character. I mean, it's been hinted at. We've heard that the Vinheim Dragon School has a dark side of sorts. We've heard that it is very secretive, that it is very perhaps unsound, and that it may have some terrible secrets of its own. And given that Logan is considered to be one of the most powerful, most innovative sorcerers of all time, Griggs told us that himself, it's obvious that Logan knew something about it. And given everything, all the horrifying things that we've seen about Seath here in this library, the fact that Logan says that, sure, it's bad, but all of this knowledge here, all of this is truly incredible. You can really see under this, polite, awkward, sort of maybe even a little bit charming old man, a dark side that, wizards have no sense of right and wrong. I really love that you can get this much out of his character just from these kinds of things. And it's like, you might not even notice that if you hadn't been reading under the surface and exploring everything, You might just think, oh, he's this quirky, powerful sorcerer. But no, he is a fucked up Nazi scientist-style dude. And that's I don't know, so few games really do that to you in that way, and I really enjoy it. And I'm probably going to end the session after I talk to him like this, because I've been going for almost 2.5 hours, but I'm really happy that I was able to get to that and show that kind of thing off, because that's the sort of thing that Dark Souls does that so few other video games and, storytelling devices in general can do. It's fantastic.
The tomes stored
Anyway, there is actually one last step to Logan's overall storyline, and unfortunately it actually involves buying every single one of the spells from him, so this is probably going to become the next sort of sink for all of these souls that I have, because I do want to show off the end of this awful fucker's quest. Why not? I do have a bunch of souls on me, so I could probably actually buy most of these now. Yeah, he only has spells, and that does sort of reinforce this idea that he is only interested in spells,
Farewell.
Bye. See ya. God, I bear no antipathy towards that that marvelous scaly creature or whatever it is. And it's like, holy shit, you were staring those things in the eye. You were held by the serpent, by the man serpents that Seath created through these awful experiments. There was a woman crying next to you out over her fate. And he just sits there, pleasant as can be. That's like Logan's character, and what the game tells you about him indirectly is one of the most fantastic things. Let's see. I actually don't think I bought any of the crystal ones because they're the important ones here. We have at least we have 4 souls of a hero. Holy shit. Yeah, just 10,000 souls right there. We can probably buy most of these things. Just make sure I don't use that Firekeeper soul. That would be really bad, because you've probably noticed our Estus Flax are really hurting right now. Let's just pop all of these and just buy everything we can. Yeah, Logan is one of the more interesting characters in this game, just for that reason, that so much of him comes...
Oh, I understand. We are in the midst of a revolution.
Yeah, so he is clearly overjoyed at discovering all of this quote-unquote lost knowledge that obviously Vinheim does not possess. They do not have Seaths. But of course, we've been told Seath Lascalis has been driven mad. And what do you think that sort of thing is going to do to Logan exactly, you know? The game presents you with all of these questions without ever, like, directly asking you, and I really love the way it does that. Yeah, you have to sink a lot of souls into this. Like, I still need 130,000 souls to get the rest of his stuff.
Anything?
Nope.
Come again. The knowledge here is limitless. I would absorb it, then share it with you.
You know, he's clearly happy to share his secrets with you, but he's just he's such a nice guy. He couldn't hurt a fly. He wouldn't support torture and genocide and all that sort of stuff in the name of science. Alright, there we go. We now have Homing's Crystal Soul Mass. Sorcery, boosted by the knowledge Logan acquired at the Regal Archives. Fire, Homing Crystal Soul Mass. The mystery of souls, crystals, and the sorceries are deeply intertwined. So, once you start getting to crystal sorcery, you really start to see that these sorceries are deeply bound to the heart and to the souls that you've been gathering. It's clear that they're kind of in a use of that power, like a forming of that power of souls that we've been using to power ourselves up, but you sort of get the impression that there's a lot to this type of magic that's unsavory, shall we say. Anyway, I think we made a lot of progress today. I think we saw a lot of interesting and important things here. So, I will leave you with that. Next time, I think we got to take on that. I think we got to take on Seath and destroy that crystal of immortality. See you later.